What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Payne. Welcome back to another Honkai Star Rail video. This is a huge one, guys. Okay, so we've been talking about tier lists and all these character showcases, and throughout these videos, I've been telling you guys, please take these things with a grain of salt because they're part of beta. And now we've officially got word on some nerfs and buffs that are happening to some major characters. So what I want to do is break this down for you guys and show you the changes that have happened to light cones and some of the actual character kits, which may change your perspective on a lot of different things. All right, so shout out to Pridewin again for putting this together. This is on the official Honkai website as well too, so you can take a look there. But I like their site because they do support a lot of gotchas, and I want to support them as well. So take a look at their site. I'll put them in the description. But as usual, they've done a fantastic job showing the link to where the official community shows, which is in Bilibili. For the game, and it's all in Chinese and Bilibili, obviously, but it's the official update from there. But let's talk about what they've done. They've done the translations, and some of the major things are happening. One specifically on probably the most OP character in the game at the time during CB2 testing and CBT3, and that's Bronya. Bronya is a 5-star character. If you saw her in the tier list, she is SS plus all across the board. She was one of the top characters. Her skill that made her what she is now being altered pretty drastically. So here's the before. Dispels the debuff from a single ally, advances forward their actions by 100%, and increases their damage times percentage for 1 turn. That was the before effect. Now, a lot of people use that on her because it would advance her forward and give her another turn. Now what it does instead is dispels the same debuff for a single ally, advances their forward by 100%, the same scenario. The difference, though, now is if the skill is used on Bronya, it will no longer trigger the action advance forward by 100% for her specifically, which is honestly, guys, not a bad thing because she was pretty freaking broken, right? And that's what made people want her before everybody else, is because she could use that skill on herself, advance, continue buffing, and doing more action. So this is now going to change, and it's going to make her more strategic as a unit rather than just making it blindsided, obviously, or making it like a blind, like you just give it to her for sure 100%, right? So it's still an amazing move. It's still an amazing skill, but it's just not as broken as it was before. So that's a big change on Bronya. So that may or may not change how you want to go for her, or if you want to go for her in the first place. All right, moving on to Welt. So Welt's skills have the same wording. The only thing that seems to have changed is one of his major traces. So before, one of his traces were increases Welt's ultimate damage by 25%. Now it's after using the ultimate, the target affected by it will receive more damage for X turns. So the wording is a bit, like they said, vague. We just don't know how much the damage amplification is going to be. And we don't know if it's a better or a worse version. Before, it was a flat 25% damage. Now it could be better if it's higher percentage for X amount of turns, or if it's a lower percentage and doesn't equal to 25% damage for X amount of turns. So this one we're going to have to kind of see as we play along. And people who play CBT2, hopefully you'll be able to let us know when it goes live if the actual change here is a buff or a debuff. All right, so keep that in mind. Himiko's final kit was actually revealed in English, and there's actually a really important change here that we've missed before. Her major trace was adjusted. So before, it was basic attack has an 80% base chance to burn enemies for 3 turns. When inflicted with burn, enemies receive fire dot equal to 30% of Himiko's basic attack damage at the start of each turn. So pretty much a fire dot that does 30% of her base attack damage. Now, it's Himiko's attack have an X% chance to inflict burn on enemies for X turns. When inflicted with burn, enemies receive fire dot at the start of each turn. So it's a pretty big change here, because the dot should do more damage. It's not no longer scaling off 30% off of her basic attack damage, which wasn't the greatest, to be honest with you. So we're hoping to see some pretty big numbers for her with the dot damage, which may make her a little better in boss fights and other things like that, because burn may actually end up causing more damage than it did before. So a good change for Himiko. And if you can see here, this is actually a huge change, as previously the burn dots could only be applied on basic attacks. Now the attack will be able to do it. This means more dots and more damage. So hopefully that's the case. We'll have to see. More testing is going to be required on global. And these are good changes, guys. Some of these are required changes, right? Okay, other characters. Clara and Jeopard release skills were also revealed, but we did not spot any mechanical changes there, so that's good to know. Light cone changes. The 5-star light cone cones belonging to the 7 characters available on the newbie banner receive numerical changes. which is pretty weird that they revealed the numbers for Lycones, but for the characters, they're keeping them a secret. That's true. Okay, so the big changes here for him is it was 20 across the board for damage received by debuffed enemies by 20%. When the wearer uses the skill, the effect hit rate increases by 20% and the attack increases by 20%. Now the damage to debuffed enemies are 24%, so 4% increase. Effect rate and attack increased by 18%. So effect rate went down a little bit, but attack rate went up. So not a bad thing, but also less debuffs being applied. So for Japanese Lycone, before it was 24% defense increase, and effect hit rate was 20%, and it also allowed the wearer to be attacked by enemies, and every time an enemy attacked him, he would increase his defense for 24% additionally until the end of that turn. Now the only change is it's 24% for a hit rate rather than 20, so a minor change, but it's a buff, which is a good thing. All right, Knight of the Milky Way, Himiko's Lycone. So you can see here, everything stays the same. For every enemy on the field, increases wearer's attack by 8% up to 5 times. Now it's 9% up to 5 times. When an enemy inflicts weakness break, the wearer damage increased by 24%. So same thing here. When an enemy is inflicted with weakness break, the wearer's damage goes up to 30%. So a 6% increase in damage when you do a break on an enemy. So there you go. Okay, moving on to Sleep Like the Dead, Yang Qing's Lycone. Increases the crit wearer by 32%. So this actually went down to 30%. So a little bit of a decrease there. When the wearer basic attack or skill does not result in a crit, increases crit rate by 40%. This went down to 36%, and it can be triggered once every 3 turns. So you can see here a couple different debuffs here. It looks like he was required because he was doing insane damage. So this one is actually a nerf. So you see a buff here and a nerf here, and that's going to happen once in a while. This is all balancing, right, guys? Something irreplaceable, which is Clara's Lycone, increases wearer's attack by 20%. Now it's 24%. When the wearer defeats an enemy or is hit, immediately restores 6%. It's now 8% of attack. At the same time, the wearer damage increases by 20% until the end of the turn. Now it's 24% until the end of the turn. This effect cannot stack more than 1 time per turn. Okay, and then the battle isn't over, Bronya's Lycone. So increases the wearer's energy regeneration by 8%. Now it's 10, so they increase that. Everything else remains the same. This effect can be triggered two uses. Yeah, everything else stays the same. So nothing else changed. That's the major one. It just went up by 2% for energy regeneration. Okay, and the last one here is Time Waits for No One, which is Bailu's Lycone. Increases max HPs by 12%. Now it's 18%. And outgoing heals by 12%. That remains the same. When an ally launches an attack, a random attack enemy takes additional damage equal to 50%. That was nerfed now to 36% of the recorded outgoing healed value. This additional damage of the same type as the wearer is not affected by other buffs and can only occur 1 time per turn. So there you have it, guys. Definitely some nerfs on some characters, some buffs on others. So a good balancing act. Same with the cones, some nerfs, some buffs. So just so you guys are aware, if you guys were planning to get specific characters back then on the older tier list, if any of this has affected you in terms of your thought process, I hope it at least helps you understand the new balances and changes. And I think this is something that's going to happen pretty much, I'd say, throughout the game. Patches will occur, balances will happen when new characters comes out. Things like this will happen, especially with power creep, right? So keep in mind that these are not necessarily negative things. They're just balances. They need to happen. There needs to be balance of checks. You don't want one OP character that everybody wants, right? You want some balance across the board so other units will be viable and useful. Not to say Bronya is the only good useful character, but her skill was pretty freaking OP. Not to mention, it still is pretty damn OP. So hope this helped you guys understand a little bit of what's happening. Remember, the pre-launch installation is going to happen in what, 2 days now? I think today's the 21st. Yeah, so in 2 days. And then the actual official launch is the 26th. So guys, get ready, get hyped. And I hope if there's more news, I'll be able to provide it to you guys as soon as possible. Thanks again, and we'll talk soon.